is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. Belle, Detroit. It is a track which has got that street course feel to it. It's been the race after the Indy 500 for the past few years for the Verizon IndyCar Series, and it is our latest stop on the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. So hello and welcome to Detroit. Welcome to the 2K World Cup and welcome to Belle. It is Will Vincent here along with Jake Sperry as qualifying is now underway. Track cams as ever presented by Istvan Balau, trackcams22.com. Overlay designed by Andreas Warner, Simon Grossman for development and all the stuff that you see in the background in Aptioneering.com, and Nick Thisson for Racebot TV, live timing and scoring. So that is the scene, that is a look at the track conditions. It's high in terms of temperature, it's a clear sky, some humidity, but a lot of wind speed. And that is going to be what we're going to be focusing on throughout the course of this qualification process. So, as we say, drivers are on track as ever. They get 2 laps to go as fast as they can. A track like this, it's one where you're really going to be careful with the walls. It's a track where track position is going to be everything, because a pile-up in the early stages of this race, be it down the run through Central Avenue or be it a little bit later on, down at turn number 5 at Waterway, it could be catastrophic, especially for drivers thinking about the championship. And that championship, as it stands, is up on your screen. Copa Lopez leading the way with 386 points. Philippe Barber in second with 361. Brian Lockwood in third with 348. Johnny Gindi in fourth place. Andrew Picorio rounds out your top 5. And well, Jake, Copa Lopez, he's got a bit of wiggle room here today, but not that much, because Barber, we know he's great at closing out seasons.
You can't ever say that you have wiggle room at Belle Isle Circuit here in Detroit. You just can't. It's so tight. It's so narrow. It is so unforgiving. The curbs are as high as you'd see at the Nürburgring. The walls are tighter than you'd see at Monaco. It is a driving nightmare of a challenge for certain drivers, and they absolutely love it. Koga the fastest on a 1:43.7 at the moment. Justin Tickton moves to second, Edwards third, Enzo Cantor just fourth for the time being. And this is going to test the men from the boys. 24 laps, around a 1:43 lap time track, but it's one which really you have to be right on your toes. So I actually do see one in the wall, and that is John Sully getting caught out over the bridge at 2.
He does, as Copa Lopez will ride on board of him then for his second lap. Quite often, we know in the 2K World Cup, the second lap is the faster one. I mean, you talk about the fact that this track can be dangerous. Who can forget what happened at the start of this year's Verizon IndyCar Series race at this road track, the safety car was the one that decided to have a little bit of a spin and a crash. Johnny Gindy up to the top of the timesheets for the moment. That's a 1:43.626. That is an eighth of a second faster than Diego Francisco, who's moved up into second place. Coba Lopez then, now on his second and final lap, having to really navigate this racetrack. He's been a little bit loose through his turns 5 and 6, but now as he works himself through the back end, this is turn number 10 and that right hand sweep onto 11 that he's coming onto now. From here on in, it's all about right-handers. There's a little bit like Barber Motorsports Park here, just without the runoff area to save you if you go a little bit wide. Sweeping through 12, now 13, turn number 14. Let's have a look and see how fast he's going to dare take it as he passes the start-finish line. Any second now, he's going to be flat out. Past the start-finish line, 1:43.414. That will be Coba Lopez back to the top of the timing stands, and Johnny Gindy will follow him up into the second position. So we've got ourselves some movers now. One thing that is worth noting, we've got a lot of drivers who are yet to qualify here.
Yes, we do. It's such a difficult lap time. Edwin Viorino, Carl Dronke, Hans Hoyer, Norbert Solzer, Tuan Tran, Paul Malocus haven't set lap times. Belle is down in 11th position behind Enzo Cantor in 10th. Johnny Gindy, he's won 3 of the last 4 races as he slides it through turn number 12, through 13 onto Sunset Drive. He's ringing everything out of the Evolution Racing Team machine, and he dives it onto pit road because he cannot go any quicker. Ade Koba has failed to transform a win in his last 4 pole positions, but for the moment at least, Diego Francisco moves into 3rd position as we still wait for the likes of Enzo Cantor, who's actually completed all of his lap times. At the moment, Paul Malocus still trying to set a lap.
Yeah, Philippe Leber crosses the start-finish line. Conclusion of lap number 2 for him, 1:43.729. That is better. He's up into 3rd place then for the time being. So Leber, his laps are done for the day. Enzo Cantor, let's see where he is. He is going to be out of laps. He's gone already, so he's got nothing left to go as well. We saw Tran. Let's go back to him right now because he has got the opportunity to get himself a lap time on the board, but only 3 minutes now remaining in terms of qualifying, and this in itself doesn't look as though it's going to put him much higher than P number 10, crossing the start finish line now, 1:44.170. That will put him up into 11th place. So it's right, didn't really get the chance with the lap time there to get himself into the top 10, but he might have another go. Let's go back to Norbert Stoller. He slowed down, Jake, and he is not going to finish his lap time.
No, he's not going to finish that lap time, and also Paul Malocus could only manage 22nd position. That's going to hurt. Mehdi El Fati then in the 353. He's making his way to the line. He's currently 19th position, 1 second off of the fastest time set by Ade Koba. Will he find a little bit more pace? Answer is yes, 2 tenths and a couple of positions. He moves over Jack Hobbs into the 16th position, so the 8th row, not bad at all. As far as I can see, Will, there is nobody out on track who can set a flying lap, and I think that's qualifying complete.
It is. We are having a look on board with Justin Tipton. We believe he is out of laps, but let's ride on board of him anyway. Justin Tipton is always good at racetracks like this, as he is currently P number 6 in terms of qualifying. A half second back, however, from Ade Copa Lopez. And Copa Lopez, that second lap, by the way, no one was able to get within 2 tenths of a second of him. Johnny Gindy, second place. Philippe Leber in 3rd. We will run through your full qualifying results in just 1 moment's time, as we have a total today of 40 drivers who have set a qualifying time, 4 drivers who have not been able to. Those 4 drivers are Diego Martinez, Norbert Solzer, Edwin Valerino, and Carl Dronke. As this is Justin Tipton. You can just see also how bumpy this racetrack is, as Justin Tipton is going to cross the start-finish line. Well, if it was a case of being able to do another lap, he would have been faster there, because he just did himself a lap time that would have put him into 2nd place. But, Jake, you only get 2 laps for a reason.
You do get 2 laps, and of course you don't get a magic 3rd and make sure that it works. That was pretty good driving there by Justin Tipton, but He's got to do it from the third row. And of course, at a street circuit, there is one big difficulty here, and that's overtaking.
Yes, and it's also about avoiding all the drama at the start of these events. So, we're qualifying in the books. Let's run you through your starting grid for this edition of the 2K World Cup here on RaceWhat TV, streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network. So is Ade Copa Lopez, who has pole position in the 301 machine for Club Iberia. It's a qualifying time of 1 minute 43.413. Johnny Guindy will join him on the front row of the grid. Felipe Belle on the inside of the second row with Diego Francisco in fourth place. Then back to P number 5 is Adrian Jimenez in the number 302 machine. Alongside him on that third row is Justin Tipton, who are on board, showing you at the end of qualifying. Brian Lockwood inside of row number 4, joined by Simon Edwards from Club UK and Ireland. Steve Fiacci then in 9th place, and Martin Cruz rounds out your top 10. Tran in 11th position, Andrea Amon in 12th, Enzo Cantor 13th, Carlos Fino in 14th, and Felix Diaz rounds out your top 15, with the rest of the results coming up on your screen right now. Standing start as ever in the 2K World Cup, and that means it's all going to be about surviving the first 5 corners of this racetrack. The track conditions are nice, clear skies here at Belle Isle in Detroit. It's a track that many people call the house that Roger Penske built, even though he wasn't the guy that designed this layout. He was the guy that brought IndyCar racing back to the state of Detroit. And one thing that's really important is this place has now become that home, the race after the Indy 500. We've got the guys lining up on the starting grid right now. And of course, it is going to be a very fast-paced run over those first few corners. There, we just zoom in on the driver of Ade Copa Lopez. He has pole position and a clear track ahead of him. But 24 laps of racing are to come, and Ade Copa Lopez has been in this position before and has been unable to convert it into race victory. So let's see what's going to happen then, as those lights will go on at any moment now. As they are doing so as we speak, we are ready to go racing at Detroit. Lights go on. The light will go off. We are racing at Belle Isle in 2018. Ade Copa Lopez gets himself a good early start as they sweep through turn number 1 and turn number 2 for the first time. Now, this first corner is unlikely to see many dramas. It will be what happens at the end of the straight at Central Avenue, and we already have got drivers going 3 wide. We got drivers going 4 wide as they head themselves down into turn number 3. 4 wide, down in the middle of your pack right now. And they started banging it around, but they somehow managed to make it through. That tyre barrier on the exit of turn number 3 is quite often where we see drivers having major issues. But for the time being, Jake, we have got ourselves through the first 5 corners.
We have got through the first 5 corners, and we've got through them clean, as everybody has been very respectful around this circuit. They know the limits here, and they are very firm when you don't, because the car is normally broken otherwise. 2-vehicle breakaway at the front. Guindy and Koba down Strand Drive 1 as they make their way to the infield section. This fantastic, tight and twisty that you see here into this lovely 90-degree left-hander. You can see you have no margin for error on that inside, and everyone's now just got to funnel it through single file before they head to that next left, and then that very difficult 120-degree right onto Strand Drive 2, and the final 2 right-handers that end the lap. Barber's brought it back through this section, but he does lead a big train. Simon Edwards clinging on to the rear of it, as well as Steve Ficciacci. Canter going too wide into turn 12. He holds off Tuan Tran for now.
Yeah, so let's go back and have a look at the front of your field. They are going to go and complete lap number 1. It is going to be in the books, and don't forget, of course, live timing and scoring is available. Just visit raceport.tv/timing. Through your field then they go after completing the first of their laps. It is currently Lopez from Guindy from Barber. Then you've got yourself Diego Francisco in 4th place. It is worth noting, as actually we just see a little bit of a move there down to the outside of the driver of Adrian Jimenez. That is in the 302 car. He is running in P number 5, and he is staying with this group right now. Behind him, he has got himself a bit of a gap already appearing to Justin Tipton, who runs in that 6th position. But Jay, now it's a case of getting some space on the racetrack early.
Yes, and that space is so desperately needed. The last thing you want to be is behind someone who has an instant, because the stockpiling really does begin very quickly, and this is one of the few tracks on iRacing where you can say track blockage is definitely a factor as they head themselves into the infield for the second time of 24. Train of 7 being flanked by Brian Lockwood, led by Ade Koba, both of which you are in the title picture at the moment. You've got Barber in 3rd and Guindy in 2nd. So right now you've got 3 drivers, Francisco, Tipton and Jimenez, who want to work to try and get themselves their big victories. And of course, you've got the championship protagonists. Just watch out for Guindy, though, in 2nd. 3 wins in the last 4, I said earlier on. But he does like to take the lead just before coming onto the pit road. When that will happen, we're probably looking at about maybe 10 laps' time.
Yeah, we just saw an incident with Rob Adams that has put him out of this motor race. So Rob Adams involved in an incident early on lap number 2. 2 drivers all fighting for the same piece of real estate, unable to make anything work. Let's go on board with Johnny Guindy right now in the Evolution Racing Team car. It is Adecopa Lopez ahead of him as they work themselves into that right-hander now at turn number 7. Not turn 7. I don't know what I'm talking about. It was Johnny Guindy, actually. We are on board of him, and the gap between himself and Adecopa Lopez is currently standing at just over 0.3 of a second. The pure Michigan signs there on the left-hand side of the track as they sweep now through onto a Strand Drive for the 3rd time in this motor race. It is a lap-based race. This is lap number 3, and the key thing now is Guindy going to work with Adecopa Lopez, or are they just going to be happy as we've got a car spinning around? That is Adrian Jimenez there, and he just loosed it under braking in towards turn number 7. Now, this is where you've got to be really, really careful, because there are drivers going too wide around you, and the last thing you want to do is pull on into incoming traffic, and you're going slower than any of the cars will be doing. And yeah, he's giving it up there. He's given it up. He's realized that there's no chance he was going to be able to get that car pointing back round in the right direction. Adrian Jimenez, then it just looks as though he locked up under braking, was a little bit late onto the brakes, Jake, and as a consequence, he is out.
I thought his point was fine. It was just the fact that he was trying to recover the vehicle, which was trying to snap right. He saved it nicely for about 2/3 of the corner, and then it just suddenly snapped around, as you can see. Drivers who have taken the one fast repair coming back out onto circuit. The likes of Bernd Oswald now needs to get out of the way, and will do so a lot of space to deal with lap traffic, especially here on the Central Avenue, as Barber now starts thinking about going past Guindy. He can't in the train of 6 now that leads this pack, but it's now that case, Will, of, okay, you've just scouted out the first few laps. These next few laps are going to be very, very telling, because you now position yourself for the pit stop window, which will open very shortly. You want to make sure that your pack is getting close, because Simon Edwards' pack now still is only 3 seconds off the Brian Lockwood leading pack, but they want to be there as quickly as they can.
Yeah, Simon Edwards has lost himself only 0.04 of a second that last time by, but on lap number 2, lost himself 8 tenths. Lap number 1, lost 1.6 seconds. So they did stem the bleeding that last time by, but there's still a lot of work to go. Oh, car spun around there. That was down. Oh my word, as they headed themselves into turn number 7. Second look at that coming on board with the driver of Simon Edwards. And this is what we mean, that danger can lurk at any turn, around any turn on a road course. And here's a look then on board. And that was the number 261 car, who Simon Edwards was about 3 feet away from hitting. And that 261 car was Bernd Oswald, who actually, it's worth noting, was also in the incident early on today with Rob Adams, as 2 drivers tried going into one, Jake.
Yeah, well, it tells you that this circuit's not for the faint of heart, and once you get yourself into an incident, it's very difficult to stop having them around this track. I know that from first-hand experience. Now, though, the front of the pack is splintering a bit. Tipton struggling. Lockwood moves down to the inside to pick up 4th or 5th position away and try and stay with the pack in front, which is being flanked at the moment by Diogo Francisco, as behind that Steve Pacciacci loses the position to a charging Enzo Cantor, who now moves +5 for the day. Who said you can't overtake on street circuits? Cantor says otherwise.
Well, yes, we're on board right now. Steve Pacciacci in the number 193 car, driver from New Jersey, so not a million miles away from Detroit. However, Fiat in the number 193 car has got Enzo Cantor just ahead of him. There's a look then at the lap times. You can see that Fiat's just dropping back a little bit now. The gap is up to 4 tenths of a second as they swing it down in towards turn number 7. One of the things that's also worth noting, Jake, and you don't understand it until you actually have a look at the track itself. It looks as though that a lot of these drivers are just kind of turning to the left to aim for a decent line into turn 7. But there is a kink just as you enter the braking zone for turn number 7, which really does impact on the ability to slow that car down and keep it stable.
It's such a difficult braking zone, Will, because you've got that small kink left before the right. It seems like absolutely nothing, but when you've got that nailed down bit of curb on the inside of turn number 7, you've got to be so careful about how you manage the brakes. On a Skip Barber, it's a lot easier, but we have seen drivers like Adrian Jimenez be caught out by that small kink. And I only think that it gets worse the more power they have. I think that these drivers are very fortunate, the fact that they've got a Skip Barber and not got a big hulking Indy car to try and bring around here, as Leibert again searches for a way past Indy and again can't see anything.
We are on board right now with Brian Lockwood, as we've just been doing a little bit of RaceSpot TV ban immersion there, as Diego Francisco is just ahead of him. It's about a quarter of a second right now as they head themselves through that infield section, which reminds me a little bit of Hockenheim. Reminds me a little bit, actually, of the Inishfield section from about turn 13 through to 16 at Circuit of the Americas. As Brian Lockwood, he has closed it down now to 2 tenths of a second. One of the things about this racetrack is, of course, they use it for IndyCar for the duel at Detroit. There are also a number of other support series that run here. And one of the most difficult things is actually dealing with the different tyre compounds from different manufacturers that run here, because instead of actually adding grip to the track, sometimes it makes it messier. As we go on board a Turan through turn 1, through turn number 2, this is where the safety car in that Verizon IndyCar Series race lost it, binned it, and that was the Vice President for General Motors in terms of safety, who had a lot of egg on his face when he had to go into his Monday meeting. Felipe Barber, however, under pressure with him and Diego Francisco. Brian Lockwood had a little half look there, down as they work now on lap number 7 of 24. We go back on board of Brian Lockwood as Enzo Cantor himself now has had an incident. Enzo Cantor is spun around and he's trying to reverse it, get it out of the way. What are you doing, Enzo Cantor? Oh my word! Oh, Enzo, come on, you've been in this series for so long. I do not understand what just went through your head.
Well, just looking at the instant, he spins it around. I think he thinks that he's left enough of a gap that he can get going. Sometimes it is very, very deceptive where you can go, because he saw a little bit of gap. He thought that the other two drivers, and those two drivers being Anthony Cat and Francois Boulian, he thought that they would swerve over to the left-hand side because he's moved his car enough over to the right-hand side to make that happen, Will. Ultimately, they didn't see that happen. It makes Enzo look like a little bit of an idiot, and ultimately, it's one which the stewards will come down very heavily on.
I disagree completely. I mean, you look at it right about here. We're going to change the camera angle. I mean, there was absolutely no room at all for that 357 car at all. I'm sorry, Enzo, you've been in this series for too long. That is unacceptable. I mean, that car was going to be damaged as it was anyway. You could tell that. I mean, what are you supposed to do if you're the drivers behind? Put your hazard lights on, or just slow down, maybe put a warning triangle out? You know, this is racing. This isn't trying to merge onto a two-lane highway. I'm sorry about that. But Brian Lockwood continuing his battle with Felipe Barber. We're very lucky, actually. We didn't end up with a safety car there. That could have been a 6-7 car incident, and that would have really thrown a couple of spanners into the works. But Lockwood continues his assault right now on Felipe Barber. That battle going on for 4th place on track through the right-hander. He comes right now, and they swing on to the back straightaway. Stand, drive. Once again, this is lap number 8 of 24 right now. Just having a look to see whether Lockwood's going to bother trying to make the move down to the inside here. He might have had a bit of a run, but he decides not to, as Barber does a big drift into turn number 7.
And Felipe Barber is not comfortable with this track. He said so 2 weeks ago. He's not too happy with street circuits. It's not his sort of vibe. For Guindy, he absolutely loves it, for example, in 2nd position. So Barber may be fighting against his own instinct when it comes to this style of racing. Actually, I do see a car in a little bit of issues. That was Mehdi Al Fati having a big moment, actually, heading off a Strand Drive through 7. I think he just about clipped the wall there, Will.
Yeah, we're going to replay up right now. This is into turn number 7. Drifts that car, spins that car. He just avoids hitting the Penske sign and the Auto Trader sign. That was a great save there by Fatty. Let's get ourselves one more look then from the aerial coverage brought to you by And One Design. There you can see the drift, 45 degrees perpendicular to the racetrack, but he almost grazes the wall. And actually, if he was to hit it there probably wouldn't have been that much of an issue anyway, but he does just avoid it in that 353 car. As Brian Lockwood then, he is side by side right now, and he's got himself past Felipe Barber. So move Barber down into the 5th position, move Brian Lockwood up into 4th place, and this is where it happened. Side by side, Barber, he just clipped one of those high curbs. You talked about that earlier on, Jake, that the curbs, especially on the inside at this track, are notoriously high. On the outside, you can sometimes run them a bit more, but it cost Barber P4, and now Lockwood's got a bit of work to do because he is almost 1 second back from Diego Francisco.
Well, he's got to work hard, and if Diego Francisco knows anything, he has to let Brian Lockwood back in. Not because they're teammates, but because Barber and Tipton are teammates. Get as many of your friends fighting your corner as much as possible, and that's what Diego Francisco has to be the bridge for. He doesn't want Brian Lockwood in there, but more importantly, he prefers Felipe Barber to be in there because he's in the championship and Francisco isn't. So that is the worry that's going on. And let's just remember here, Will, there aren't many races left in the championship. This one at Belle Isle, a random track, which will be the last random track ever in the series for the foreseeable future, and of course Bathurst to finish the season. I mean, You've got to get your rival in now. It's crunch time for the championship.
Yeah, and 2 of those 3 races are going to be very difficult in terms of overtaking. I mean, you know, you think about here, it can be tough to overtake. You've also got the same at parts of the Bathurst racetrack because, you know, all the way down from the top of the mountain till you get down to Forest Elbow, you are not going to be overtaking unless someone has pinned it into the wall. Consequently, that means that the random track may well prove to be the difference maker.
Off goes Casado Gil right in front of the leaders, but he gets away with it on the inside. He manages to keep the vehicle, and now the question becomes, can he turn it around better than Enzo Cantor did? And it's looking like he's going to have to do the Austin Powers point turn.
Yep, so let's try and see if we can get a look at that one in a moment's time.
Oh, he just got a big slap as well from Jack Hobbs.
You see, this is what I mean. I'm sorry now, this is the second time we've had this today. This is a street track. Yeah, we joke about doing things like the Austin Power moves. There's the first incident. You know the front end of your car is completely broken off. You're doing the right thing at this stage by not moving. But it then comes, you're at a blind corner. You're going backwards technically around a racetrack. You're now going to have to put it into reverse. I mean, that's always going to be an incident that's going to happen. I do not understand why drivers feel as if it's appropriate to act in this behaviour, Jake. I'm sorry.
I think there's spatial awareness training that the 2K World Cup will need to give to a couple of drivers after this race. Lap 10, and Gindi dives onto pit road. He's the first to blink out of everyone. The cone comes very early, and it is a blind cone that you see, so it is very tough to actually spot where the braking marker is to hit the pit limiter, but Gindi absolutely perfect as he is the first to jump.
Indeed so he is on towards pit road. He will do his service then. You see he's got a nice easy run out of pit road as well. And by pitting early here, you can get yourself some clean traffic, and the undercut can work surprisingly well. 13 seconds out and away. As Brian Lockwood has had himself an incident. He has lost himself 2 places. Let's go and have ourselves another look at that one. See what happened with Brian Lockwood, because he's lost a position not only to Philippe Leber in the number 2 car, but also now to Justin Tipton. He's already lost position to Leber by this point, but then here comes Justin Tipton. He's going to look down to the inside. TT Racing's Justin Tipton there, helping out TT Racing's Philippe Leber just a little bit.
Just a little bit, but remember, Lockwood is outside of the championship. He's got less points than Leber, so he's not the big threat when it comes to it. The big threat is the one that's just pitted in Gindi, and of course the man leading this race, Ade Koba. So yes, that's true, but I think Lockwood is thinking about the long game here. He, at 2 occasions, heading down Central Avenue into Turn 3, has decided to back off and let positions go to TT Racing drivers. Why, Will? I think he just doesn't want to take that chance of running too wide into that corner.
I actually think it's just as much about the fact that he's hoping at some point he can just work strategy in his advantage, and knows the fact that even though he is behind in terms of the championship, he knows that being consistent in this championship, has scored in 1 championship before, and he can do so again. Top 8 as it stands. We approach halfway here at Belle Isle. It is Adecopa Lopez leading the way. Diego Francisco in 2nd. Philippe Leber in 3rd. Justin Tipton in 4th. Brian Lockwood in 5th. Simon Edwards, Tran, and Steve Fiacci rounding out your top 8. 9th place is Martin Cruz, and Adrian Ainemon rounds out your top 10. James McCritchley, by the way, is on pit road right now, and we have already talked about the fact that Johnny Gindi has made his first, and of course only, we hope, pit stop of the day as well. There are, though, quite a few drivers coming on towards pit road this time, Jake.
They are here at the end of lap 11. The likes of Oscar Chinchilla Matza is down on pit road. Anthony Catt on the lane as well. So the likes also we see coming off of pit road is Sebastian Scholz looking to finish his stop. McCritchy is out and away. He's behind Oscar Chinchilla Matza. So Matza's got the jump then in terms of that. But I do have to say, McCritchy was very pedestrian coming onto the pit road, and I've seen some very difficult pit roads in my time. I've never quite seen a pit road on iRacing where it juts out as much as it does. As things stands, though, it's a 2-car breakaway at the front of the field again, because now Leber is starting to struggle once more with this street track layout.
Yeah, Diego Francisco's built up the advantage to 1.1 seconds right now over Philippe Labeur as they complete lap number 12 this time by. I mean, it's not the hardest pit road in all of iRacing. Actually, I'd say the hardest pit road in iRacing is Homestead Miami Speedway, because of the fact that you got to run that inside, and it is so, oh my word, that is Diego Francisco we're on board with, as just noting that was Adecopa Lopez, who was very sideways as Labeur is on pit road. Lockwood is on pit road as well. So let's have a look then. The time up at the bottom of your screen. Philippe Labeur on pit road now for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seconds, as he will come out and away in 14 seconds exactly. However, he's been passed there by Brian Lockwood, who is 1.8 seconds faster on the gun. So this is what I was meaning in some ways, say he didn't really care if he was going to get past in some ways, but he used strategy to his advantage. Lockwood now ahead of Labeur.
And very luckily, Mehdi El Fati is not come down and made his stop and is giving Lockwood the draft to stay with Johnny Guindy, who would have been clear otherwise. So that's some great work from Brian Lockwood in the stops. He's brought himself in. There was a change for the lead, though, in towards turn 3. Koba's given it up to Diogo Francisco. It is surely advantage Guindy at this point, and now you have to feel you have to come down and try and cover off the moves if you are the leading 3 drivers in this field.
Yeah, Adecopa Lopez, we did see he was very loose last time around through turns number 1 and 2. I wonder if any of them are going to come on towards pit road at the conclusion of lap number 13. Let's ride on board with Adecopa Lopez. Let's see who's coming on towards pit road. Well, Lopez is going to stay out. Diego Francisco is going to stay on pit. Sorry, come on towards pit road. And there is Francisco. He is on to the lane. So another TT Racing driver, Jake, making a service.
And I tell you what, Adecopa was lining up to come down in onto pit road, saw Francisco diving in, and he went, no, I'm staying out. I'm going to go for something completely different, as Tipton also stays out. So now, this is a very telling stop. If Francisco gets out ahead of Guindy, we know where Adecopa can come out in comparison. If it's behind, then Koba's got work to do. Off of the marks, then comes Diogo Francisco, and he will look to get up to speed. But look at the difference there is for Johnny Guindy, as he now tries to get up to pace. He will now have the ability to use the draft to close right on in. Francisco has the jump.
Yeah, and the gap is 7/10 of a second from Francisco to Johnny Guindy right now. So Guindy, once again, having some issues here, as he is now going to have to push very hard in the second part of this race. But let's go back then to Adecopa Lopez. Is he going to swerve on towards pit road this time around? Well, let's ride on board of him first. Let's give you a little bit of Racespot TV fan immersion as we expect him on pit road this time. Well, he's certainly in, Jake.
You bet he is, Will. And he was also followed very swiftly by Justin Tipton, who caught up in those late stages. Tipton had such a great lap compared to Adecopa, and I thought he was even going to try and make the overtake on the narrow pit lane.
Yeah, but he didn't. I mean, it can be a hard thing to do. As we do see Adecopa Lopez then. Let's get the time up. Let's see what's going to happen for Adecopa Lopez, as he's going to come out behind Johnny Guindy. There's almost contact there on the exit of pit road as well. I want to know whether that's going to hurt Adecopa Lopez. He's actually now behind Philippe Labeur. So big drama for Adecopa Lopez as he comes back onto track. Let's get ourselves another look at him coming out of pit road, shall we? Because this one almost opened the championship wide open. So let's have a look. Coming through, and there we are, Jake. I mean, they were side by side. I mean, you've got to be very lucky there if you're Adecopa Lopez.
They actually touched, Will, and they got away with it. That was Chris Malcolm who was a lap down and making his stop. And Chris Malcolm actually got out ahead, and it was the natural trajectory that Koba had. Desperate to get ahead he was, that he had to check out of it and make contact. As such, the slow in lap, and the fact that Ade Koba has now made that contact. You can see he's sliding all over the place at the moment. It's done something to the car because he's in fifth, and he's desperately trying to hold on to every corner, it seems, at this stage.
Yeah, and this is where Justin Tipton actually now becomes the kingmaker, because Justin Tipton has absolutely nothing to lose here. One TT Racing driver can very easily help out another TT Racing driver as they'll come past the start-finish line again in about 20 seconds time, and this has really made this race interesting. We still, of course, got the battle out front to talk about, because Johnny Guindy is trying now to get himself ahead of Diego Francisco, who's inherited the lead of this motor race. And here's the thing that's worth looking at. These are the movers and shakers in the event so far today, Jay, as we're just going to get that one up for you now on the left-hand side of your screen. But look at that, Francisco up 3 places, Lockwood up 4 places, and your biggest loser, the guy that started on pole. Once again, Lopez has had difficulty in converting.
He has had difficulty in converting. He has had a race victory since, I think, round 5 of the championship, which was the second race at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and that has to be hurting his championship perspective. 3 wins in the first 5 races, nothing since here as we're in round 11. And now for Diogo Francisco, he's got 2 options here. Either he battles out with Guindy to the end, or he slows the pace down, allows Lockwood in and Leibert in, give Leibert as many points as possible in this race. Remember, Francisco is not fighting for the championship. He is out of points to make that happen. He can only hinder Guindy.
Yeah, hinder Guindy. That sounds like almost like a bit of a campaign slogan. Oh! Francisco goes wide. Johnny Guindy to the top of the timing stands once again. Let's get ourselves a second look on board with Diego Francisco, and let's see what happened to him. Did he clobber the wall? Well, first of all, he was really abusing the curbs through turn 7. Turn 8, the back end of that car just steps out on him. He glanced. I think it was a glance there. Let's have another look if possible. And right about here, we've got it on a freeze frame. Does he tag the wall? Yes, he does. Just a little bit there, Jake. But what that means is that he's lost the lead of the motor race. Johnny Guindy back to the top of the timing streets.
And it means that Brian Lockwood is in the mix as well. It was just the case, Will, that his vehicle bottomed out on him through turn number 8. It's so bumpy on that section, and instantly Francisco will move to the outside to try and make the move on Johnny Guindy on the brakes through turn number 3, able to hold it around the outside, has a chance of making it around the outside at 4, but the track gets narrower and single file, and as such he's unable to make that move. But Diogo Francisco is now harassing Guindy, doing everything he can to bring Leibert back into the battle, and look at Lockwood just sitting pretty in the catbird seat.
Yeah, and Francisco recognised the fact that the track doesn't just get narrow at that stage. Also, there's a tyre barrier on the exit of turn 4, but here's Francisco. He's alongside Johnny Guindy as they head down Strand Drive right now in towards turn number 7. Francisco should have the inside line. However, he's a bit earlier on the brakes, later onto the gas pedal, but actually Guindy doesn't just lose 1, he almost loses 2 positions, because Guindy was tiptoeing through turn number 7 there, and all of a sudden Brian Lockwood is now fighting for second place with Johnny Guindy.
Well, he outbroke himself through 7, Will. He ran wide. He had to gather the vehicle back up. As such, it gave Lockwood half a chance. Crucially, they haven't broken away from Diogo Francisco, but it's brought Leibert within just about a second. They were 2.3 back, and it's also bringing Koba and Tipton back into the fight. If you want pandemonium in the final laps, you want as many vehicles as possible there. That's what Francisco's hoping to do at the moment. Gap down to 1.4 now between Leibert and Lockwood, as now traffic will wisely stay out of the way. That's Carl Dronke getting back out and away again, and he is right out of the way, hard to the right-hand wall.
Yeah, there's a look. That on lap number 15 and 16, Leibert was losing time to Brian Lockwood, but he gained some that last lap, lap number 17, as Johnny Guindy trying the outside line through turn number 3. They stay side by side in towards 4. And Guindy, who almost got into contact there with that heavy concrete barrier. It's not an Armco barrier around here, it's a heavy concrete barrier. But Brian Lockwood in 3rd place is just watching this one carry on. Let's go on board with Johnny Guindy. Let's give you some more Racesport TV fan immersion. Well, that time around, it wasn't just Johnny Guindy getting past Francisco. Lockwood moved himself up into 2nd place as well. However, Barber has now caught back up within 1 second of Diego Francisco, and that means, well, it was 1 second. It's actually just eked out to 1.1 seconds right now as Barber works through turn number 1 and turn number 2 as Adecopa Lopez is on pit road for the 2nd time today. Let's have ourselves a look at this one. What's happened to Adecopa Lopez? He's brought that car on towards pit road, and Jake, this really now does mean the championship is going to be opened up a little bit. And well, it looks as though that Lopez's car, he sustained some damage somewhere because he was basically really trying to angle that car for the last 3-4 corners. I've got a feeling that would be somewhere down around turn 7, 8 and 9. Well, we just lost Jake Sparry, so it's just me for the moment, shall we say. So just having ourselves a look here as Adecopa Lopez. Well, this is in towards turn number 7, and this is where he gets the first big lockup. So I'm wondering whether he's actually hurt that car already. This is in turn 7. Turn number 8 is actually okay. Turn number 9 is actually okay. Turn number 10... well, does he lose it? I mean, that back end, yeah, he's definitely got some damage by this point because he's losing time and positions all over the place. Adecopa Lopez down in P number 25 on track right now. That is a disaster for him, and he's still on pit road. What we've got out front, though, is now a 4-way battle as Diego Francisco thinks about looking to the inside, to the outside of Brian Lockwood through turns number 1 and 2. He can't do anything there. So let's have a look as he tries to go into turn number 3. Can he get anything? Let's look in. Nothing just yet then for Diego Francisco. Behind, Felipe Barber has caught up. It is now just 7/10 of a second. And Justin Tipton, he is there to join the party as well. He's in 5th place, and look at that. The gap to the race leader, just 1.8 seconds right now. Through the right hand they come, through turn number 6. Onto Strand Drive once again as the speed will pick up. Let's have a look then on board with Justin Tipton, up to 180 kilometers an hour. Slows it down through the left-hand kink in towards turn number 7. Actually very wide for Justin Tipton through turn number 7 there, but no issues. He's able to hold on as you can, of course, get social with us on social media. That is /Racesport TV on Facebook, at Racesport TV on the Twitter machine as well. Your top 3 drivers are now separated by just 0.7 of a second. It is Johnny Guindy leading from Brian Lockwood, who's in 2nd place, and then 3rd place is Diego Francisco. They'll come past the start-finish line, and now there's just 4 laps to go around this Belle track. Into turn number 1 for Diego Francisco, who ride on board again. Brian Lockwood ahead of him up the road by 1/3 of a second. bringing it in Central Avenue towards turn number 3. And here comes Lockwood. It's Lockwood going to go for the race lead on the outside in towards that third corner. He's going to maybe try the over-under, but no, he's not quite close enough to do that. Lockwood remains in second place for the time being. In terms of retirees here today, we've had ourselves a big list of them. Brian Dewell, Jack Hobbs, Adrian Jimenez, Carl Dronke, Jose Manuel Casado-Gil, Carlos Feno, Diego Martinez, Enzo Cantor, Bernard Oswald, Andreas Robertson, Gustavo Conde, and Rob Adams, all out of this event. But it is worth noting, as it stands right now, that the driver of Ade Copa Lopez is still on pit road and has dropped down to 28th position on track. So terminal it looks for Ade Copa Lopez, and that championship, as we head ourselves into the final 2 rounds, is really going to be interesting. The next race is going to be a random track, so that basically means it can be anything from a pre-selected list of tracks. It's normally something that we don't run often in the 2K World Cup, and normally it provides a boatload of fun. We round off the season at Mount Panorama, and that track, as anyone who's ever taken on the mountain in Australia will know, is a track where hearts can be broken in just one moment. And as soon as you go over the skyline, it's a case of holding on for dear life. Diego Francisco still in third place. Brian Lockwood still in second place. Johnny Gindy still in first. It is worth noting that last time by, Philippe Leber gained 0.2 of a second over Diego Francisco compared to Diego Francisco, and it's worth noting as well that Francisco gained a bit as well. Edwin Valerino is making himself the second pit stop. He's onto the lane for the second time. I think this was another driver who's had a crash and could well be out. Let's have a look then at a replay with Edwin Valerino. Let's see whether he just brought that car on towards pit road, or see whether or not he actually had a moment. Well, this is down into turn number 7, and he just scrapes the wall there. He bounces across turn number 8 and then into the right-hand Armco barrier. That is going to be Edwin Valerino's hopes of a top 10 finish done and dusted. He is out of this event, as we've now got ourselves just 2 laps to go at the line here. It is, well, your top 8. Let's show it again at the bottom of your screen. Johnny Gindy continues to lead the way. Brian Lockwood in second place. Diego Francisco in third. Philippe Leber in fourth. Justin Tipton in fifth. Tran in sixth. Steve Fiacci in seventh. And Andrea Amon rounding out your top 8. But note the fact that your top 5 are still separated by just 2.2 seconds on track. In terms of other battles going on the racing surface right now, Norbert Sulzer is battling it out with Simon Edwards. This is for 13th place on track, and Norbert Sulzer has managed to get himself up 1.4 seconds over the last 3 laps. So there's a good chance that Sulzer could get himself into 13th place before the end of this one. We'll keep an eye out on that. We've also got ourselves Cristobal Otero Roman, who's having a battle with Felix Diaz. That is for 16th place on track, although Roman is losing ground in that battle. Further up in your field, you've also got Sebastian Schultz and Anthony Catt. They are going at it for 10th place, the final position inside of your top 10 right now. And Schultz goes about 1.2 seconds over the last 3 laps. So since lap number 20, Schultz has got himself really close to the rear of Anthony Catt. He thinks about making a move into turn number 5, so nothing there happening for him as a roll on to the back straightaway once again. Turn number 6. Let's put that speedometer up for Sebastian Schultz, and let's see what's going to happen with him as they come down towards turn number 7. He has the inside line. and Sebastian Schultz. Hello and welcome to the top 10, or will it be? He does get a better run on the exit of turn number 7, but outside line through turn number 8 is going to allow the driver of Anthony Cat to come back into it. They're going to remain side by side right now. Cat all of a sudden is back on the outside as they now work through turn number 11. Back onto Strand Drive, a drag race towards turn number 12, and Cat is able to hold on for the time being. However, the white flag is out. There is one more lap to go, and Johnny Guindy almost just binned it. Here's a look at the replay on board of him, and he got himself, I think, all 4 wheels onto the grass right about here. There's not much grass at this track, but well, he was very close to pushing wide into the Armco barriers. But Johnny Guindy now has a 1.6 second advantage over Diego Francisco as he works himself on towards Strand Drive and turn number 7 for the final time in this motor race. For a long period, it looks as though there could be a lot of things happening as Brian Lockwood has just lost himself 3rd place to Philippe Leber. Maybe Brian Lockwood, who took himself less fuel than almost anyone else, is struggling for gas at the end of this one because he's losing another position. Justin Tipton is going to get 4th place then at the end of this one, but Johnny Guindy now heads himself through the last corner, and Johnny Guindy is going to be your winner here in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulations. It is Johnny Guindy who claims victory, and at the very end of this one it will be Philippe Leber, according to our timing and scoring sheets, who's going to get 2nd place. Diego Francisco 3rd. So more than one driver having issues in terms of fuel. Diego Francisco, it's worth noting, he was also close. Let's have a look then on board with Francisco.
Well, it sounded like he let him through.
I'm just having a look. As well, he did take 12.5 seconds worth of fuel, so he might have been coughing to a line, and it is actually single file for that last part of the racetrack as well. But as it stands, it is Johnny Guindy who is your victor here in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation, and the Evolution Racing Team driver claims himself victory. And let's have a look at your final race results. Well, Johnny Guindy then claims victory by 2.2 seconds at the end over Philippe Leber for TT Racing. So Evolution Racing Team claims victory, but then you've got TT Racing in 2nd and 3rd place and 4th place here from Detroit. Justin Tipton 4th, Brian Lockwood 5th, Tran in the 6th position with Steve Fiacci, Andrea Amon, James McRushy even, and Sebastian Schultz rounding out your top 10. A look back, P11 through 20. Anthony Cat did lose that top 10 position then on the last lap of the motor race. Anthony Cat will have to settle for 11th place. Michael Fielder in 12th, Kurt Crumman 13th, J. Felix Diaz in 14th, and Kristen Kabanga rounds out your top 15. We go back to P number 20 through 30, and you need to pay attention to the driver in P number 28. 5 laps down, Ade Copa Lopez blows the championship wide open with a DNF here from Detroit, and he's lucky in many ways that the attrition rate was so high. Otherwise, that could have been even worse for him. There's a look at the remainder of the results up on your screen. We will take a quick break here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network, and when we come back, it'll be time for the post-race interviews, so don't go anywhere. Keep it with us on the iRacing Esports Network. The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers. A big
there we go! This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to post-race coverage from the 2K World Cup presented by DEF Simulation. We do apologise for coming back on air about 10 seconds later than we normally should have done. I blame Johnny Gindy, but Johnny Gindy, congratulations. You are your winner here from the 2K World Cup at Belle Isle. That was a tough old race.
Yep. Yeah. Has the interview started?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to annoy you more than I have so far, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with that result. I haven't gotten a pole position this season, and I knew it was pretty easy to get it here, but then I messed up on the second lap. But it ended up being a blessing, like in so many other races. So starting second, I got to save a little bit of fuel. And the first stop was my first stint was really short, so I stopped on lap 10 and banked on just being quick on my own. But unfortunately, Diogo and Brian also saved a bunch of fuel like me, maybe even more because they were further back in the train. So we had to fight it out at the end a little bit. And then I got a little bit lucky with them battling because I was struggling for fuel at the end.
There were a couple of near misses here today that we saw with the front runners, with traffic coming back on to the racing surface, and it is a tough place to make overtaking moves as well. How much was external factors playing in your mind heading into this event? Were you worried that there might be a safety car that would throw the strategy off balance, for example?
Yeah, I never really considered it, but now that you mention it, it would have been pretty likely for it to happen with such a narrow track, walls on the sides, and I don't know how many cars we had today, but it's as soon as one guy crashes in front of at least 20 people, there's going to be some people that are collected by that crash. So yeah, and in the end, it was fairly smooth for the type of track it is, I guess, at least up front.
We've got 2 rounds left of the championship. One of them we know about. That is going to be the race at Mount Panorama. There's one race that we don't know about. That is going to be in a few weeks' time, of course, here on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. Is there a particular type of track that you're looking forward to or not looking forward to when we go into Random Sunday?
I don't know. There's a bunch of, actually, looking at the list of random tracks, there's a bunch of tracks that I really like in there. There's not a lot that I'm not that good at. So it should be fine either way. And then for the last round, Mount Panorama, I really like that circuit, so I'm really looking forward to that one.
Well, before we let you go, who do you want to give a shout out from that ERT team?
Well, Paul Malokas had a terrible luck today. I think he pitted twice, had 3 separate crashes with the wall, so it definitely wasn't his day. But yeah, unfortunately it was just him that couldn't make it for ERT, but I'd like to thank our sponsors, Logitech G, JRT, and Modem Simulations.
Well, thank you very much. That's Johnny Gindy, your race leader and your race winner here today. Handing it over to Jake Sperry, who's got Philippe Leber, who came home second in the dying moments of the race.
Philippe, first question, it has to be asked. Was that scripted between you and Diogo?
Well, it was, Diogo let me by, but it wasn't scripted from the start of the race, of course, because anything can happen.
Well, that's, of course, is a foregone conclusion, but second position, seeing Ade crash out of the event, how big of a momentum pusher is that for you, knowing that the championship leaders run into issues, knowing now that you head to a random track which nobody knows what it's going to be, and you now have an opportunity to really set the stage before Mount Panorama?
Yeah, it's definitely tightening up the championship. I think we're almost even in points now, but don't count out Johnny, because if he keeps on winning like this, he might take the championship at the end. So it's going to be very, very close.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
What?
I was hoping you wouldn't notice.
Oh, I noticed.
You can closer.
You can count on it. Yeah, I'll be watching you. But Brian is also still in the mix. So, in essence, we have a fight for the championship with 5 people. I don't think that ever happened.
Well, it looks like it could be the closest championship in the 2K World Cup for a very, very long time. You see Johnny Gindy taking 4 wins out of his last 5 races. You're seeing yourself having some very consistent finishes. You're heading to a random track. Just how random is random for these random tracks?
Couldn't be more random, because it's based on an algorithm based on the results of the official race before the 2K race. So that's totally unpredictable, and so the track that we will choose is also unpredictable. So nobody has an advantage.
Well, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you at TT Racing?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Diogo for helping all of us in the race, because he did a really great job. And also I want to thank our sponsor, our league sponsor, DS Simulation, and Johnny. Congrats again for winning 4 out of the last 5 races. That's just impressive.
Well, no worries at all. Philippe Leber then coming home in second position. An important second, but team orders did come into play to finish off the event.
Yeah, and I was worried about that. It was more of a fuel issue at the end there for Francisco, and considering the fact that he took 12.5 seconds worth of fuel, you could have made it really easy. You could have basically just said, you know what, he was running out of fuel, but Philippe Leber deciding to give the honest answer in that one. We've got 2 rounds left of the championship, as we said already. They're going to take place. Well, the next time we're here on the iRacing Esports Network, we don't know what's what the track's going to be? We will find out about the same time that you will find out. That, of course, will be streaming live on the iRacing Esports Network as ever. The season finale, that will be at Mount Panorama. That's about all we've got time for here today from the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. Want to give a shout out to the people that you see on your screen now. In the meanwhile, for myself and Jake Sperry, this has been a RaceSpot TV presentation on the iRacing Esports Network of the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. We'll talk to you next time. Good night from Belle Isle.